Hi, I'm Arush. I'm a second year economics student here to help you out with your queries about year one exams.
Hi, I'm Kwash Chabra. I'm the careers head at Warwick India Forum, and I'm here to ask Arush on his experience as a first year economics student.
What is your main challenge in EC 104 and how did you go about approaching it?
I think the main point of EC 104 really is to be able to present a compelling narrative about why you think certain events or certain ideas led to economic growth and economic development. And because of that, the main focus is just making sure you're able to cite relevant literature. And I think that's what helped me the most, really going through the books, going through the lectures, and knowing what to talk about.
Stats-based seems challenging for many. What helped you understand concepts like hypothesis testing and prepare effectively for the exam?
I think, firstly, Jeremy's lectures themselves are the greatest thing available. He is by far one of the best lecturers at the university, and being able to understand from him, even with the demonstration workshops, really helped me clarify a lot of the stuff that I frankly had no idea about. And secondly, there's a certain pattern to the papers. Like if you go through them, you look through them, you'll see that like there's always a question about power of test. You always have to do a conversion between a normal and a t-distribution. And it's nailing those small sums, those patterns that really lets you get ahead of the crowd, I would say.
The next question is about the optional module, Foundations of Finance. What was your strategy for understanding complex topics and how did you practice for the exam?
I would say for Foundations of Finance, the main thing is trying to make sense of it in somewhat of a real world context. Like take for example CAPM. A lot of it is really abstract when you're thinking about asset betas and you're thinking about say options pricing. Just trying to rationalize that with some information you read in the news really helped me break it down and actually look forward to applying it.
Between macro and micro, which one did you find more manageable and why? Was game theory and micro a challenge for you?
I'd say macro is definitely a lot more manageable and you have to dedicate a lot less time to it relative to microeconomics. And when it comes to game theory in particular in term 2, I think beyond just the lecture slides, what you should try to do is really in your head paint a picture really of what is a subset of what. So you have an overwhelming topic such as rationalizable strategies, and within that you then have Nash equilibria, and then you look at sub-game perfect Nash equilibria. Just trying to get that intuition down, I'd say, is the most important part of it.
Any tips for writing essays in EC 104? How did you structure your argument and manage references effectively?
First piece of advice, follow the basic instructions. It's 10 free points. Second piece of advice, read the books, another 20 points. Third piece of advice, have one argument. You don't want to be all over the place. And it should be really logical in that you could explain it to a 5-year-old. A leads to B, which then causes C. Just being able to break that down shows that you've understood the topic a lot better than 80% of people. And I think keeping that in mind and making sure it makes sense logically is the most important thing.
Hi, I'm Himan. I'm an accounting and finance student from Dubai, and I'm here to answer any questions you have about the course.
Hi, I'm Tanu. I'm the head of careers at Warwick India Forum, and I'll be asking Hemang about his experience as an accounting and finance student. How did your school background shape your experience with first year ANF modules?
So I took commerce in CBSE in a school in Dubai, and at least for the first term of ANF, it was really helpful since most of the first term of ANF is what we learned in CBSE in 11th and 12th. So in that way, it was mostly the same. But again, it's basically 2 years of content filled in 10 weeks in university. So it's a bit harder, but it's similar content. So that's how it was easy.
How did you approach revision differently for analytical modules like business analytics, IB 122 compared to written ones?
So particularly for business analytics, the most important thing that you'll do are the past papers. The papers that come every year, same format, at least for the past 3 years, I think it's been the same format, and the questions come from the very same topics as well. So listen to your module leader. She's said it so many times in the lectures. Do the past papers, do the seminar questions, very, very important, because they're practically the questions that come in the paper as well. So seminar questions and past papers, very, very important in a module like business analytics.
Which first year module challenged you the most, and how did you adapt your study strategy for it?
The most challenging module in the first year, I would say, was business law, IB 113. Why it was challenging for me, I'm not used to writing long answers in papers. CBSE was maximum 150 to 200 words. Also, there are so many cases, so much to remember. Also, it's 100% examination based module. So there's no participation mark, there is no group assessment. So it gets difficult in the end to just pull up and score. So I think that module is a bit tricky, even with the way they question it. They really twist the questions and give you. So that is probably the most challenging module. How I got over it is basically doing past papers, a lot of past papers, and a lot of YouTube videos as well, because they don't really give you a lot of practice questions that come into the papers as well. So a lot of videos on YouTube, you'll be good for the module.
If you could go back, what would you do differently to make your first year experience smoother, academically or otherwise?
So academically, I would say, at least regarding core, when you're submitting your essays, before you do so, review them by your seniors. Your seniors know how to write an essay. They've been in college for one more year than you have. They know a lot more on how to write an essay than you do. Get it reviewed. They can give you a lot of valuable insights. That's one thing I didn't do in my first term, and I regretted that a lot since my friends did it and got a much better grade than me. So I think that's one thing that everyone writing a core essay should do.
Thank you, Hemang.
Thank you, WIF, for calling me, and I hope this helps whoever's listening to it.
Hi, I'm Anoshka and I'm a second year management with finance student.
Hi guys, I'm Payas Chabra. I'm head of careers at Warwick India Forum, and I'm here to ask Anoshka about her experience as a first year management student. What's one thing you did in the first year that helped you stay on top of submissions without falling behind?
So I think the thing that helped me the most is checking WBS regularly and just keeping track of all my submissions. If I had something due the next week, I'd make sure to, be done with all my submissions that have an earlier deadline so that I'm not too stressed in between and so that I have a clear idea in my mind.
How did you adapt from writing high school essays to tackling core management essays at university?
So I was used to writing essays in high school because I did IB. But once I came to uni, I realized that the kind of essays we write over here are slightly different. What helped me the most was to incorporate feedback from my first short essay, see where I went wrong, see my strengths, the strengths of the essay, and to incorporate that into my final essay. So there was a big difference between the grade I scored in my first essay and the second essay because of this.
What's the biggest mistake freshers make in online exams, and how can they avoid it?
So I think the biggest mistake I made as a fresher was I knew all the content, but I didn't go through the materials immediately before the exam, so I didn't know where some pieces of information were. And I feel like you save a lot of time by knowing exactly what piece of information is where on each PPT. So that's something you don't have to worry about in the exam, and you can just focus on writing the essay in the time given.
Financial management module IB 1250. What's your go-to strategy for staying consistent and not getting lost?
I think what helped me the most throughout the module was staying consistent with my lectures and seminars. I feel like the content's a lot easier that way, instead of just mugging it up close to the exam. Another thing that helped me was looking at past papers. I feel like the past papers are very good predictors of what will actually come in the exam. There are a lot of patterns that you can notice with the type of questions you get. And lastly, having a formula sheet really helps.
Thank you, Anoshka, for sharing your experience as a first-year management student, and thank you guys for tagging along.
Hi guys, I'm Kushma Gupta and I'm second year Economics, Politics and International Studies student.
Hey guys, I'm Payas Chabra. I'm head of careers at Warwick India Forum, and I'm here to ask Khushbu on her experience as her second-year ePay student.
Essentially, PO 131, which is World Politics, had a 2-hour exam window where we had to choose from a list of 8 or 10 topics and write 2 essays on the topics of our choice. So essentially, you don't really have to study every single topic in depth. So what I did was I studied 12 topics like really deeply. So there was a high chance that one of the topics that I studied was in that list. And I had kept essay formats prepared for each topic. So when it was like when the writing time would start, I wouldn't have to think about, oh, like what I have to write. I would already have that in my notes, and I would essentially focus on my framing and keeping my arguments intact. Yes, world politics lectures, revision lectures were really helpful. Essentially, when he teaches you and goes over the topics again, he'll tell you all possible questions that can come from that week in the exam. So when you do your readings for your chosen 12 to 13 topics, you can really focus your attention and, navigate your research according to the question that can possibly be asked. So I would definitely recommend attending the revision lecture. Okay, so I know as the first year, it'll be very intimidating for you to write 2 essays in 2 hours, but it is a lot more leniently marked than summative essays that we have like months to write and submit. So as long as your arguments make sense, I think you should be in a good place, and it's very leniently marked, so it's not something to worry about.
Hi, my name is Aisha. I'm a second year PPE student, and I'm here to help all the first years with their exam doubts. So along with having different rules about referencing and citing, each department has their own expectations about what a good essay should look like. You can't approach all these essays the same way. Philosophy essays are more about creating and defending a stance, whereas politics essays are more theoretical and hence a bit easier to figure out. So like you said, I was also someone who had never done philosophy before university. And the first time I had to submit a philosophy essay, I made the mistake of not going to my seminar tutor. I assumed that the marker would care about my own thoughts, my own perspective, but that's not true. What a philosophy essay requires from you is just the ability to create and defend an argument. So my most important piece of advice would be definitely see your seminar tutors in the early stages of writing your essay. Take your essay plans to them, they'll help you, they'll tell you if you're on the right track. And yeah, that's basically the most important thing you can do. I think the easiest way to think about logic is it being similar to the set theory we studied in school. The content is structured really well and it's a manageable pace, with the first few topics being pretty straightforward. If you have an analytical approach, you'll easily do well. And the exam doesn't carry huge weightage, so even if there's a few topics towards the end that you don't understand, you don't need to stress too much. And once again, seminar tutors, a huge blessing. So the exam required us to write 2 timed essays, but the exam was online and open book, so we had access to our own notes and to the internet. The way I went about preparing was I looked at the past papers and I identified 5 to 6 important topics. And using those, I created some rough essay plans. And during the exam, all you need to do is modify each essay plan as per the exact question, and do that and you'll be good to go. So firstly, make sure you do all the practice quizzes available on Moodle. Secondly, don't be shy about using the forum to ask any questions. And thirdly, make sure you know how to draw the diagram for power of a test, because there's most probably going to be a question related to that.
Thanks, Aisha, for sharing your experience, and thank you guys for tagging along.
My name is Sujit Bandaru. I'm a second year EPP student, that is Economics, Psychology and Philosophy. I just played to my strengths. I wasn't really great with biology, but I had done the sciences before, so the general concept of the scientific methodology and how you approach science concepts was well aware to me, and that's pretty much all I relied on. Right, that was a 24-hour exam. The biggest challenge with that one is remembering all the different cases that you can use in order to cite them, so it does take a lot of time to make sure that you're familiar with all the information you can use. The MCQs are a bit tough because you never know what they're going to ask. So quite literally, all you need to do is solve the ones that they give you in seminars, speak to your lecturers if ever you're confused, and then just keep going through the different MCQs they provide.
Thank you, Sujit, for sharing your experience as a second year EPP student, and thank you guys for tagging along.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Tanu Raman, the head of careers at Warwick India Forum.
Hi, I'm Gurveen Kaur. I'm a second year law student from Delhi, India, and I'm here to answer all your questions.
Understanding law in context sounds broad. What's the trick to writing well for it without sounding too descriptive?
So ULIC, or Understanding Law in Context, is all about reflection. It delves into social theories, social perspectives, and it's not a very research-based module. So you have to pick a stance for it. You have to critically engage, and the most important thing in critically engaging questions or essays is that you have to create. So take arguments, add in your own reflections, add in your own opinions, and don't just name drop or don't just drop all the information just like you do in LSI. It's completely different, and if you have your own opinions, if you have your own writing into frame, you'll be fine.
Final essays and exams matter. So when do you actually start writing or preparing for them? And what's the one tip you swear by? Especially since the marking for law essays is subjective.
So one thing you need to know about law essays is that, as you said, the marking is very subjective. You don't know what mark you're gonna get. So if you are expecting like the best grade in the world, or you think your essay is really nice and the marker doesn't think so, then you are bound to get a bad grade, and you just have to accept that fact. But again, the most important thing in essays is critically engaging, as I said. And one exam tip I would say is that just make your notes, read the book as many times. Notes didn't help me out personally, but what helped me out was reading the book as many times as I can, so that I know when I'm doing a problem question in the exam, I can refer to that page, specifically that page. And essay research is just, again, LSI and ULIC are different modules. They require different types of research. LSI requires a lot of research, and it's more of like a rule of law thing. So just be clear about the rules in that, and in ULIC just try to add as many contemporary perspectives that you can.
What's something that helped you get more out of seminars and lectures early on?
Thing is that for lectures and seminars, you tend to be like, oh, they aren't important, or you miss them, but you don't realize at the end of like everything, because law essays and examinations are always towards the end, so you don't really study well. Please do your readings well for your seminars or essays. It really helps. You have a clear mind space about what you're gonna write at the end of it. So yeah, readings are very important.
Did you feel completely lost in first year law, and what helped you finally feel like you were getting it?
I'm in my second year now, and I still don't feel like I get it, because as I said, law is very subjective. You don't know what to expect, but start your essays as early as you can. This is a very hypocritical advice, but just adhere to this. Start your essays as soon as you can. You can edit them as much as you want if you have more time. And once you feel like you find your writing style, because some people prefer researching before writing and some people prefer simultaneously doing both of them. Whatever your approach is, you figure it out and you'll get it. First year is just about getting it, so don't worry.
Thank you, Gurveen, for answering your questions.
My pleasure, and best of luck for your exams and essays. Score well and